What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're taking a look at the Alchemist by Gondek EDC. I've really been loving this knife lately. It has a great design, but it also just carries like a much smaller knife. So it's about 3.75 inches in this closed position, which isn't super small, but you can see it's not ultra wide, maybe about a ½ inch wide on the handle, probably around 0.4 inches thick, maybe up to a ½ inch if you include that pocket clip. Whole thing weighs in at just 2.22 ounces. So it really disappears in your pocket. Great balance on that weight, super lightweight in hand and in pocket. Slots into my fifth pocket, no problem whatsoever. And so it ends up being kind of a smaller mid-sized knife at 6 3/4 inches, but it feels like it's even smaller when you're carrying it. So I do appreciate that aspect of it quite a bit. Now I purchased this one at Blade Show Atlanta probably about a month and a half ago, but it is available on their site for purchase, which I'll link to in the description below. Not affiliated with them in any way, but good friends of the channel. Now you can grab this one for $325, and for that you're getting an American-made knife, obviously a huge selling point there. Ultra premium materials as well though. We have grade 5 titanium on the handles, as well as the screws and pocket clip, both titanium as well. We have a Magnacut blade with a high hardness 62 to 63 HRC, and this was made in collaboration with Spectrum Energetics. I believe they did all the machining on this knife, and so when you purchase it, you're supporting two small American-made businesses, so what's not to love about that? Now, as far as the knife goes, I already touched on the size a little bit, so 3.75 inches on that handle. For me, I kind of know the size of my hands. If I see a handle length that's between 3.6 inches to 4 inches, usually able to wrap all 4 fingers around it, no problem. And that's definitely the case here as well. You can see we lose a little bit of that handle length to that flipper tab, so you can't utilize obviously in front of that flipper tab, so it makes it about a 3.6 inch handle, but still able to get all 4 digits around there, no problem, very, very comfortably. Ergos are great, no hot spots whatsoever for my hand, and worth noting that very locked in, so that flipper tab keeps you from sliding forward. The kind of bend on the knife where it kicks out at the butt keeps you from sliding backwards, and that works really well for my hand size. I'm able to get all 4 fingers there, so it's locked in. But if you have larger hands, that's where it's good to know what handle length works for your hand. But I wear a size large gloves. If you wear XL or maybe even larger than that, you may run into issues where your pinky's either going to land on this raised portion or fall off the back here, and so the ergos might not be the same experience for you, so did want to point that out as well. In terms of our blade, I already mentioned Magnacut blade here, 2.99 inches, so just under that 3-inch threshold, going to keep it legal pretty much everywhere here in the States, although maybe a little bit more murky internationally because this is a locking knife with that frame lock. Great compound grind on that blade though. Love the look of it. It's not just an aesthetic thing though. We have a hollow grind here at the base of the knife and then a flat grind on the front half with the belly and the tip, so you got a little bit more strength at the tip of the knife, but really, really thin and slicey at the base, and just a great look overall. Nice wedge at the top, and then we have this fuller here in the middle, and so that's more of an aesthetic thing. There's not really a world where I can use that as a deployment method, really only deploying this with that flipper tab. You can see in this closed position, very little access to that fuller on the thumb side. And so I'm sure there's someone who can squeeze in there, flick it open, but for me, I'm really only using the flipper tab. Same thing on the back side. If we look over here for our middle finger, even less access. It's being blocked by that frame lock, very little access to it. But luckily that flipper is very, very well done. Great detent on it, just about perfect. You can see nice and in line with that pivot, and really sharp angle here, sticks out quite a bit. Kind of gives it a side profile of a bird, which I like the look of, but you can notice that there's no jimping on it. There's no jimping on any of the knife, but that's a little bit more notable on the flipper tab, because if this were a more subtle flipper tab, that could be an issue where you just can't get enough purchase on it. But because it sticks out at such a sharp angle, really easy to find this and really easy to deploy it. I already mentioned that detent is just about perfect, so it's not going to kind of half deploy on you if you don't put enough pressure. You have to put enough pressure to break through it, but not such a heavy amount of pressure where it's difficult. Comes flying out every time. It's on caged ball bearings, so really smooth action there. With that frame lock, you do have a decent amount of access. It's probably kind of hard to see, but it does stick out a little bit further than that show side scale, so you have plenty of access to it. Kind of drops down onto that flipper tab to your nails, so not going to destroy your nails. Also not really heavy enough where gravity is going to take over. So it does require at least a good shake or two to get it closed. But again, super smooth action there. And you can't really expect it to drop shut just because of how lightweight it is. But nice there. Really good pattern on the handle as well. It's got like this kind of radial pattern towards the top, which I like the look of. Also opens up the opportunity for them with these titanium scales to try out different patterns in the future, maybe some anodization. This one though has this stonewash finish, which I think looks excellent. Also really hides the snail trails, which I put quite a bit onto this knife for whatever reason. You probably only catch them if I kind of angle it to the exact right spot in the lights where it picks up different snail trails, because that stonewash hides it so well. So love the stonewash on here. You can see matching on that pocket clip as well. Overall, the aesthetics on here are excellent. I love the kind of overall look of this from start to finish in that fully deployed position. Very minimal branding. There's actually no markings on the blade whatsoever. It doesn't even mark out that steel or anything, which you might expect because everyone likes to advertise that they're using Magnacut, but they kept it super sterile and clean. The only branding is very subtle, etched here on the back, and you see that Gondek EDC logo next to that SE for Spectrum Energetics logo, and so they kept it super minimal, barely even notice it's there. As far as that pocket clip goes, we have a milled titanium pocket clip. Mentioned the stonewash on that already as well. Matches the rest of the handle. I think great looking pocket clip, works well, easy to slide over your pocket, and it does seem like it would be reversible. There's no hardware on the pocket clip itself. It's all being held in with the body screws on the opposite side. So in theory, you could swap this around. It's not the most lefty friendly, so don't know that you'd really want to do that, but it does seem like it probably would. I haven't tried that though, so don't quote me on that. As far as the hardware, did mention titanium screws. We have a T10 on the pivot, T8 on the body screws. I wouldn't have seen those, minded seeing those match up, but I also can't really complain. As long as it's not T6, I'm pretty happy with that. It's nice when they're the same, so you don't have to swap bits if you're disassembling and reassembling it, but at the same time, I'm pretty happy with T8 and T10. A little bit of a weird choice on the pivot. You'll see that that pivot, the screw is raised. Definitely an intentional choice. It's not flush with the handle. And for me, I don't know that I love that visually, but at the same time, it doesn't really affect anything ergonomically because it's in line with that flipper tab. You never really feel that they're raised. And so it's just kind of a visual thing. They're kind of a cool looking screw. It's not just like a regular shaped screw, so that's good, but not really my thing either with the raised screws, but not a deal breaker there. Again, really, really good action overall. No lanyard hole, anything like that, so if you are a lanyard fan, not going to be able to do that. But really interested to see what they do with this in the future. Like I said, plenty of opportunity to do different patterns on that titanium, lots of anodization opportunities as well. I love this radial pattern, so I'm pretty happy getting that first model, but definitely will be interesting to see what they come with down the line. Would love to hear your thoughts on this one down in the comments below though, and as usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member. All help the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.